too. Is this an appeal or is this a direct hearing?
The procedures are for the direct hearing that might occur concerning violations that you have under the code. And that person would make an initial decision, and then there is an appeal that could go above them at that point in time after they've made a decision further to the courts. And so that's how that could occur.
So there's no appeal that's going, in the normal sense of appeal, there's no appeal that's going to this administrative hearing officer?
No, and we had talked back and forth about an appeals board in connection with this for certain matters, but that's up to y'all on where you go
Well,
eventually.
I understand what it was for short-term vacation rentals. That's clear. But it's been expanded
Yes. And
to litter and other things, and that's where I'm thinking we might want to think about that.
your current ordinance says that there's judicial review of a final order by the AHO, and it would go to, I guess, the court under 654-1017.
There's judicial
Judicial
review.
review of a final order by the AHO.
Okay. And that final order comes as a result of
A hearing.
a hearing, and that hearing comes as a result of somebody appealing
No,
or somebody,
well, someone would be appealing the order that is issued by the AHO at that point in time.
so I get picked up for, I've done litter all over the place. I go to the AHO directly.
Yes.
And the AHO is gonna find me or not find me, and if I'm unhappy, then I go to Chancery Court.
Correct.
Correct. You have an appeals process.
Within 60 days, you have to file that appeal.
Okay, I got it.
And currently, our appeal from city court is only within, I think, 10 days here that they file going on up, so it's a little bit longer time period.
All right. And the last question I've got, and this was a question I had budget-wise.
Yes.
Chris, it becomes important to know what that budget is. I pretty much understand the appeal process, okay? But where I was going was, that conceivably, because it's been expanded, even if it's an hourly rate, could be a pretty big hunk.
We don't see it being bigger than our legal contracts. I mean, we're not, when you're talking about caseload, you're not talking about that many cases, even if all of that stuff started going to the AHO. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of what goes to city court now.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. So, if you were to pick up all that stuff that goes to city court now, and you're moving it to an AHO officer, for budget purposes, somebody on council may want to know what that is.
And I'm sure we will provide that once we get into the budget hearings. Today, my only role was to announce that you need to choose someone, not to provide all the operational details.
All right.
Just to get the ball rolling on the appointment process.
So when we come to city court, would we assume that there would be some money taken out of the city court budget and moved over to, that's all I'm asking. I mean, that's a valid question. I
It
don't
is.
have the answer.
And
It's
neither
just,
do I today, Councilwoman, but we'll have that soon.
okay, good. That's why I was
Unfortunately,
asking all
for the
that.
city, I do not prepare the city budget. But I will talk to people who are smarter than me about that.
Well, I think the question validly would come, like it came with the library and different things like that. And so that's the only reason I'm doing the heads up.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
We'll come back with that.
No problem.
One option might be available to you that under 21-236 of the code right now, it's got that you can contract with the Administrative Procedures Division with the Secretary of State for an ALJ on a temporary basis. And that's what we do currently on employee appeals right now. So it's one possibility that you could do that to at least get you through the beginning of the new budget cycle. So that's another potential option on there, but that's in the code currently.
So is there any other questions before we get into how we're gonna do the process of hiring somebody or appointing somebody? So we can go through the accepting applications process, or we can consider, going with the state contract?
Yes.
To do it as well, at least through this budget, through the remainder of this budget, So is there a preference for council? Because if we did the state contract, it would be somebody just from the state. We wouldn't necessarily know who that person was or if they were local.
Would not have someone local usually. It would be someone from the state that they would send to us on there.
So it sounds,
Nah.
we want somebody local. That's what,
Yes.
that's what I'm hearing. Okay. So with that, are you amenable, Chris, could you state the 7-day process again?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think the best procedure is to follow what we did roughly a year ago for Councilwoman Knoll's appointment, which is accept applications for a stated 7-day period. Those are received, and then give applicants either, up to council, if you want this, give applicants an opportunity, I believe it was 3 minutes or 5 minutes per person last year, to address the council. And that at some point will need to be followed by a council action at 6 o'clock some week, making a motion, a second, and somebody getting 5 votes. And I believe in the appointment process, there were multiple nominations on the floor at the same time. I believe 2 people were nominated, with one person receiving 5 votes and one receiving 3, and the 5-vote winner was Councilwoman Knoll.
Yeah.
So I think a process like that would work very seamlessly for this as well.
So what is your pleasure, council? Do you want to do that process or a form of that process, or how do you want to proceed with it?
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I like that process, and I think that the either 3 to 5 minute time for the applicant to address us was very helpful. I mean, it definitely, I learned a lot in that time period, so I like that, and I would like to see us, Phil, have an hourly contract for this first one.
Right.
That then the council can decide again if we want to, maybe it should have a extension or a renewal.
Revision for
That would, then
renewal.
we wouldn't have to necessarily go through the entire process again, but X number of renewals, as many as you think is appropriate, and then, and we could vote to renew or reopen applications, maybe?
Anybody opposed to that option with the renewal option?
Sounds good.
Okay. So we'll move forward with the 7-day process, and they can send, I guess, Nicole, you want to get it, work something out, and they can submit it to Nicole. And then once you get them in, I guess you'll create a folder that we can all just look at them and see. So is 7 days good? 7 days starting today or tomorrow, I guess.
Probably start tomorrow.
Just
They should be watching. They should be watching right now. So 7 days starting tomorrow, and then we'll close applications next Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And then who's ever in there, we'll just review it and bring it up.
Do we need to set a compensation prior to that? And if so, would that come out of Phil's office perhaps as a recommendation?
Recommendation. We can get you an hourly rate recommendation.
Okay, that'd be good for us to have. Is that something, and we'll have to vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna wish I went to law school.
So next we're closed on the 26th, so.
It's not too late.
Yeah. Are you going to law school?
Going and enroll
So I wanna look at maybe May
I'm waiting, hopefully I get in there.
16th, maybe May 16th for the hearing, not hearing, I guess, for the appointees. to come in and talk to us. Okay. May 16th.
May 16th.
All right. In between that time, we should be receiving information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, that's done. Council committee assignments. Our council committee assignments are planning and zoning is gonna be chairman. Councilman Ledford, economic development is Councilwoman Coonrod. Equity and community development is also Councilwoman Coonrod, and thank you for taking that committee. You know it's near and dear to my heart. Parks and Public Works is Councilman Hester. Education and Innovation, Councilwoman Knoll. Budget Chair is Councilwoman Burrs. Housing, affordable housing is Councilwoman Hill. Public Safety is Councilman Henderson, and Legislative is Councilman Smith. So those are any questions or comments? All right. And then Councilwoman Burrs for your, is next up with the 23 budget and what the process is.
Okay, so let me hand this out. They're hot off the press, so we had to make some changes. Go ahead and pass them around. So this is exactly the same as last year, not the same dates.
I'm just listening.
Oh.
I get Botox, you can't always tell what I'm thinking.
I thought, oh my God, what are we, she forgot last year. Okay. So you all had said that you were satisfied with last year and that the way the process went. As a review, we met only on Tuesdays. We started at 10:30 in the morning. I do have a couple of questions that I'll ask in just a minute. This is the overview. Right now, administration should be meeting with each one of you individually to go over your particular area that you're in charge of, and it relates to the council, the committee assignments that the chair just read out. That's about it. The only change that we made is we're skipping the chair. We got the note that May 30th meeting is canceled. There are no council meetings, period. So, and we'll go to June 20th. Now, yeah, we're not gonna still be here July 4th. Okay, you may be, I'm not. So it's pretty much the same thing. The administration will make presentations, you will ask questions. Let's use the example of housing. Jenny's the guru on housing, and so she's gonna be really brought up to date on the housing piece. And as I chair the meeting, I will turn to Councilwoman Hill and say, Councilwoman Hill, any more questions you need to ask? Pretty much what we did last year. Okay, now here's the question I've got. The budget itself, you will see, is not very sexy. It's gonna be fairly flat. There are gonna be some things that are changed a bit, and you'll get all the details of that. You all felt more comfortable having, you said more comfortable having the discussions around the table. And we can stream now in here. We couldn't before. This schedule will be going up online. I mean, everything's gonna be public that we're doing. However, I need your direction about the education sessions and the questions. Several of you have said we don't seem to have the same level of real discussion if we're up there on the dais. It's more like a performance. And you call the shots, then I can make it happen, but you gotta let me know what you wanna do.
In regards to where we wanna have the, information sessions?
Yeah, these sessions here.
Okay.
Now, if you'll see, we're having a public meeting, the big public meeting, the public hearing is on the 6th, the first vote on the 13th, the second on the 20th. You all may say, you know, we don't need any more meetings. We can move it up. Or you may say, yeah, we need a lot of more meetings. I want to know more about widget making, whatever. That's up to you guys. You're calling the shots. I'm just talking about for the first go-round. Where do you want those to occur? They can occur in here. They can occur in the big room. What's your pleasure?
Well, I prefer in here. We got this new system, and I think I mean, it went well. I think it went well in here last year.
Well, the last time we had them in here, it was really good.
Yeah.
And we can make accommodations for people.
Okay.
I just needed to know what you want to do. Is that your pleasure?
Is that okay?
I like that.
You're referring to the public meetings, correct?
So the education
Public,
session.
education,
These are
just
all
education.
education
I'm
sessions.
looking at
Yeah,
June
not the public
6th.
hearing. Public
June
hearing.
6th, okay.
The voting, the public hearing, that's all in the chambers.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is to educate us. So y'all are gonna get educated a couple of ways.
Yeah.
You're gonna get this grand education. But I believe the administration, between my last meeting with them, has made appointments to talk with you all about your specific area. I have no part in that. There's only one council person present with the administration, okay? And then you'll have whatever you need to go to your districts and talk to your districts. I just wanna make sure, is that the presentation format you want. In here?
Sounds great, in here.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, there will be some impact on budget, which we've covered, because what we'll be doing is breaking for lunch.
Oh, okay,
We'll have lunch every day and then supper that night. It's not,
okay.
we've got the money to do it. I just want to let you know. Okay.
That's fine. Thank you, Councilwoman Burke.
Thank you.
Yes. Pending presentations, we have, one from from the Public Safety Committee. Don't have an update on when that'll be, but hopefully we will soon. Council agenda, we'll go over our 3:30 agenda at 3:30. And then you can see what we're doing for our agenda for April 25th. If you have any questions or updates for it, please. Yes, ma'am.
The eviction prevention update is going to need to be moved. The Community Foundation had a conflict. So
Okay.
I've got a date hanging out there, and I'll let you know as soon as we have it.
Okay.
But the other part of that conversation will remain the CDBG.
Okay. All right, so on the Affordable Housing Committee, it'll just be the CDBG discussion for
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Okay. All right, any other updates with the agenda, our April 25th agenda? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this doesn't pertain to that, but I want to write legislation that would address the ordinance that pertains to the strip malls in the city. We could, if I can get that information on that,
Okay.
right.
Regarding,
The strip malls and how they're regulated,
okay,
right.
we'll give you all the zoning sections.
Okay,
on there.
okay.
Okay, thank you. And, board appointments, you all see your board appointments, we do have a board that we're looking to reinstitute, and, Chris, if you can come up and just give us an update on that.
Yes, ma'am. Some of you may have read in the Times Free Press today about the Animal Control Board. This was a board that a few of you will remember that was active from at least 2013 when we reactivated it till about 2015, 2016 when they stopped meeting because they didn't have cases on their agenda. These cases are supposed to be, sent to them by our contracted animal center for kennel permits, we've recently learned. So while the board has not been active in about 8 years, we need to reconstitute it for that purpose. The board, as drawn into the ordinance, is appointed by each council member. Each council member gets one vote from their district. They must reside in the district. And we're going to reactivate this board, so I need 9 people. And since I'm certain this will be covered on both publications in the room before the end of the day, I imagine we'll start to get applications for this board pretty quickly. Whenever you talk about animals, it's something that people do care about and they're interested in. So I'm certain we'll be inundated with applications, and I will share with each of you the applications that we receive from your district.
You want them to apply online?
Yes,
Okay,
that is the only way to apply.
okay.
Okay.
It connects to it.
All right. Any other questions about that board or any of your other boards while we got Mr. Anderson at the table? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I got a board appointment for the Charlotte region.
Yes, ma'am.
That I'll be announcing, Nate Doss
Okay.
for that one. And I'll get with Ms. Nicole too about it. But with the animal board, my question, can we do something about these cats? Now, I wanna make it clear, like, everybody in the world know that I'm afraid of cats. I'm scared of cats. So if you want me to get in line, bring a cat. But community members, particularly in the Highland Park area, are complaining about, these loose cats.
Carol.
Yeah.
It's something that you could task the Animal Control Board with studying and making a recommendation. In fact, Councilman Henderson, Councilman Freeman, and myself had them do that for the backyard chickens ordinance in 2013. That was the reason we stood the board back up. So once they're operational, if you want them to review and make recommendations on animal issues like that, that's absolutely appropriate.
Councilwoman Farmer, yes, any more?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, Councilwoman.
Okay, just to speak on the cats are very difficult to catch. The dogs are a whole lot easier. 4 or 5 years ago, someone dropped 2 off in our neighborhood, and those only 2 we have had. Everyone in my neighborhood had dogs. And so this female was just having babies after babies. So I did call the Humane Society, and they did come and pick them up. And I said, don't want you to euthanize them, just fix them and bring them back. Bring them back. And I'll see about them. So they did, and so now they doing their job. You can see them every now and then walk around with a big old rat in their mouth that they have taken care of, kept it out of somebody's house over in there. So, they costing me $60 a month for cat food though, but that's
Good
okay.
grief, you get good
I
cat
know,
food, friend.
they will only eat Friskies with gravy. That's all they eat. Yeah, that's it. Won't eat nothing else.
You got them spoiled.
Yeah, so I just take them. I will, those are my two, yeah, by default, but they stay outside, but yeah.
So any other questions about board appointments? All right, any other questions or other business? Yes, ma'am.
Just one thing, Phil, is there any, do you have anything around venue, event halls? I'm really concerned about it, April the 8th, and it's other dates that I'm sure that we can pull the data on, but it was a shooting in the Wilcox Plaza where there's 3 events hall spaces that are operating here.
Right.
And I know people are, using a loophole that, they call them day parties, or if they, close down by midnight, then everything is okay. But I'd like to see us, the council, or for us to talk about and maybe draft some legislation around, when they're hosting these parties, that they come before council and we approve for them to, or they need to have security, or, off-duty police officer. Although we do have police cameras, several of them saturating the area, for some reason, we don't end up finding the shooter. But it's causing our communities to be distressed, and particularly in this area. I don't know if we can cap a limit of event halls. The people are not being honest about why they're renting the spaces, and then they'll end up having all these young teenagers there for whatever reason. The business owners are suffering because they're shooting out their windows and different things like that. And these kids or their parents, they're not held responsible for it, for the damage that's being caused. So I want us to put, and even if we shut them down, I would love if we can just say none of them can operate. And, because it's happening in our, inner city communities, and it's causing more harm in our communities and public space. Just like the noise ordinance is saying, when it's excessive and disrupting the quality of life for those that live in that community. This is one of those things that's consistently happening in our communities, and there is no tight governance around it.
Yes. I thought at one point in time, we actually had a special gathering permit that was required for certain events on there, and I'll have to locate it in the code on here. I was just looking at facilities. I know we have provisions for special events outdoors, but I believe we had some sort of gathering requirement that was, let's see if I can find it. It's in the beer code. It's not necessarily requiring, special gathering permit. It's actually under 25, it's in the miscellaneous provisions of the city code on here. So, let's see, you normally have to have a permit if you're gonna have a gathering when it's gonna be a number of people that is involved that triggers that event on there. And I thought, there has to be some sort of review by the fire marshal of that event whenever it occurs. So, 2548 in the code currently talks about that, and they have to have an application that is approved at least 5 days before the event occurs on there. And if there's gonna be some sort of alcohol involvement in there, then it can be denied if they've had alcohol issues before. So that's something we probably need to look at and make sure they're actually enforcing in that regard as to those permits on here. But once again, it's the police department regulatory bureau would approve it, much like they do a beer license and a beer permit.
Well, let's take a look at
And
it.
we may need to amend it in that regard, but we've got something in the code about that, and it defines what types of security is necessary and what types of events would actually constitute an event that would have to have that type of protection and a permit.
Okay, good.
And
They're creating, little club scenes under
Yes.
the event halls.
Yes.
It's causing major disruption in our community.
I don't think they get around it here by just saying that it's a club in that regard. That's the problem. If you're having a gathering with a number of people that need to be there, and there needs to be some safety in connection with that, and that's in the code right now. We may need to look about amending it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, anything else, council? All right. Meeting adjourned until 3:30. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Check on Highway 58.
So you made it 1:55, but I don't.
That area is well